This episode features the houses where I've lived. The first house I remember was Eleanor Avenue. It was on a dead-end street at the corner of Oakwood and Vaughan Road in the north end of Toronto. This is where I got run over by a car. But that's another story. I went to school there at D.B. Hood Public School. In the summertime, we lived on Ward's Island, on Toronto Islands. Most of my boyhood memories are from there. My dad bought a cottage there in 1939 for $2,200. An excellent price because he could only buy the cottage, but not the land. The land belonged to the city of Toronto. Living there was to become the best time of our lives. What a wonderful place to grow up. I have a whole episode of this time and place. I even published a book about it. Our next home was on Lyngrove Avenue in the Kingsway in West Toronto. I went to Lambton Kingsway Public School at Royal York Road and Islington Avenue. In 1949, my dad opted to sell this lovely home and opened his own business at 588 Yonge Street in downtown Toronto. Our family lived there on the upper two floors above the shoe store. I went to high school at Jarvis Collegiate, where I started in grade 9. In 1952, I left school, got a job, and met my future wife and your great-grandmother, Merle. But that's another story and another episode. In 1954, just before Merle and I got married, we bought a house on Chillery Avenue in Scarborough. It was a new subdivision, and we bought it before it was built and before we were married. It cost $13,500 with a down payment of $2,500. We lived there for 30 years, and this is where we raised our kids, Penny and Becky. I even built a white picket fence because that's what you do. We had a pool in the backyard, a playhouse, a swing set, and a cement hopscotch.
And your shoes get so hot, you wish your tired feet were fireproof. Under the boat, down by the sea.
And in the winter, I made an ice rink for the kids to skate.
I'll be there by sunset before the first snow flies.
After I opened Decade Electronics and the business matured, we were able to buy our next home on Ramblewood Avenue in Highland Creek. We sold the Chillery house for $165,000 and purchased Ramblewood for $250,000. We lived there for 13 years, from 1986 to 1999. Sadly, Merle passed away in 1999 in her 65th year, after 45 years of a truly wonderful marriage. I stayed in the house at Ramblewood until 2002. Then I moved to Lagoon City on Lake Simcoe, just north of Beaverton. I lived there for 14 years until 2016. Ramblewood sold for $450,000, and the 3-story documinium on the lake cost $193,000. The lagoon was my backyard, and no grass to cut. Besides, lawnmowers can't float. I have stories to tell you about Lagoon City, but that's another episode. In 2016, at 83, I was getting pretty wobbly, and I was afraid of falling off my boat. I started to be concerned about my health, so I called Penny in BC and told her I was coming to dinner, permanently. I sold the Lagoon City property and boat for $295,000 and gave away all my precious belongings and moved to Victoria, BC. I moved into a retirement home called the Berwick House, so I could be close to my eldest daughter, Penny. The price of my all-inclusive rent is $3,700 per month. Sounds expensive, but it's about the same as maintaining a house when you consider the hydro, taxes, insurance, food, and maintenance. I was not happy about moving away from Becky, but she had her children, Robin and Jason, still living at home. I am happy here, but I sure miss the water at the back door.